This is Quick Clip 2.09, molecules. And in our discussion of molecules, we should understand the difference between an atom and a molecule. We said before that an atom is the basic unit for all matter. If the pictures on the left represent different atoms, the pictures on the right then would represent different molecules. A molecule is when two or more atoms are combined together. Also notice that the atoms can also be the same type of atom. Here we have a molecule made up of two atoms, but those atoms are exactly the same. So a molecule definition is simply that two or more atoms are combined together. They can be different types of atoms, or in this case, they can also be the same type of atom. Next, we talk about elements and compounds. On the left, we have an element. An element is a substance made up of all the same atoms. So here you see that all the atoms are exactly the same. That would be an element. On the right, we have a compound. A compound is made up of molecules of different atoms. So here you see that the compound is made up of different molecules. Each of those molecules are made up of 4 different atoms. So elements are made from the same atoms, but it's important to understand that they can be made up of individual atoms, like in the previous slide, or they can be made up of molecules of the same atom. So in this case, the element is made up of molecules, but those molecules are made up of the exact same type of atom. And so you can see it's exactly the same. All of the atoms are the same. This occurs in some elements that you are familiar with: hydrogen, nitrogen, or oxygen. These elements travel around as diatomic molecules. They're called di meaning two, atomic of course meaning atoms. So hydrogen, nitrogen, oxygen, and some others are always traveling around in pairs, you might say. Next, we talk about how these molecules are combined or how they're bonded. One way is through a covalent bond. Covalent bonds are when electrons are shared to fill each other's shell. So here you see 2 hydrogen atoms, 1 proton and 1 electron for each. We spoke about the octet rule, where all atoms are trying to fill its outer shell. Well, hydrogen is trying to find 1 more electron to fill their first outer shell and fill it with 2. The way they do that is if they each share their electron. So now that they're sharing each other's electron, it satisfies the octet rule and their outer shell is full, and this is done through a covalent bond. Another way is an ionic bond. This occurs when atoms lose and gain electrons. On the left, we have a hydrogen. On the right, we have a fluorine. Fluorine has 7 in its outer shell, and it's looking for that 1 extra electron. So hydrogen is going to give up its electron, and fluorine will take it. So now fluorine has its full outer shell, and hydrogen turns into a positive ion. It's positive because it lost an electron. It only has that proton, so it's a hydrogen plus 1. Fluorine has gained an electron, and so it is more negative. So now we have a positive ion and a negative ion. That positive and negative attract, and thus creates a bond, and this is called an ionic bond. And then finally, we look at how compounds can be formed through chemical changes. In everyday life, you have experienced or witnessed chemical changes. You've seen it in rusting, burning, or even through digesting your food. What happens is different compounds or different molecules are broken apart, and then they reform to create a different molecule. So a chemical change occurs when molecules break apart and reform to form new compounds.